All right. All right. We're gonna try this again and see if I get all the dropped frames in the whole world. What's up, y'all? I'm really hoping I can actually stream, but we already know how that worked out last time, so. Hi, hello, good morning, welcome, good afternoon, good evening, good day. How's everyone doing? So I wanted to stream real quick and just do basically some Q&A to go over just anything you all want, because I hit 30K subs and I'm pretty hype about it. Thank you so much for all of the subs. So this time you're probably gonna see my beautiful face for the most part. And we'll just talk about photos and photo things. So what's everyone been up to? How's everything been going with everybody? How's everyone holding up in our current times? I want to, you know what we can do too while we're in here? I want to look at some of my old photos. We'll just jump around and check out some old photos of mine as well. Thanks, Peter, on the congrats. Congrats on the 30K. Thank you, thank you. Let's see what I got in here. Let's see what I got in here. Doing fantastic work on the content. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, let's go ancient times and look at some really old content. I'll show y'all some of my super old weddings and stuff. The baby is driving me mad. Can't wait to get back to work. Bought an iPad Pro because of you. Awesome. Oh, it's coming in today. Cool. Yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. It's really awesome. Also, Lightroom just had a super big update last night. I need to record a video on that. They finally have support for Lightroom to Photoshop talking to each other like they do on the computer, so that's gonna be super awesome. We got Turkey up in the house. Hello, hello. Just came across your channel a couple weeks ago, and your work is such an inspiration. Thank you so much, y'all. Let's pull up some of these old weddings and see if it's scary or not. Just gonna hide this window away. Here we go. Now I can see everything at the same time. I don't even remember what these weddings are. Oh, they're so old. Wow, so old. So this was before the natural fills preset. This is when I was using like Maston Labs and stuff. Really missed wedding photo behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm hoping to make a couple more this year. A lot of my couples rescheduled, but I want to do at least one like pandemic wedding behind the scenes and kind of just talk about what weddings look like now with the difference and everything. So there may be one of those coming up soon, because so far at least we can still do weddings in North Carolina, but honestly the way things are looking, that might be changing, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But how did you come into your style of how you edit photos? Honestly, it took a long time of just trial and error. I'm one of those picky artists. I don't like my work ever. Even now I'm starting to not like it again. which is kind of the worst. But basically, I'm just always like trying to get better, and I'm always looking at my photos like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So it's just trial and error over time. But yeah, this is old stuff. So it's like my black and whites, they were cool, but they were very flat. Because I used to like that really faded look, but it made the photos too flat. So let's see. Let me see if I can keep up with these questions. How long did it take you to develop your natural fills preset? It literally took 5 years of just trial and error. I started talking to my mentor and had him look at some of my photos, and he gave some feedback on them, and that kind of helped me get closer to what I was looking for. But yeah, these are the bridal party portraits from this wedding. Obviously full on sun. This was with the Canon 6D. That's what I started photography on. Tips for night photography and editing. The biggest tips for night, obviously, is find your light, and then you really need to know your computer. Wow, you really need to know your camera, because if you don't know the range of what your camera can handle as far as ISO and everything, and how low you can go on your shutter, you're gonna have a hard time. But you always want to be looking for light, and you need to understand how much light your camera can handle. Meaning that, like, if it's still kind of dark, how much can your camera lighten that up and be within a good dynamic range and handle that. So that's the biggest tip, is understanding light and where to find it and where it's going to illuminate your subject enough so that in post you can raise it a little bit, or even you can drop your shutter enough to make that light look very light. Also shoot with a tripod. How's your workflow in photo mechanic? Photo mechanic's very straightforward. I've shown it on a couple of other live streams, but basically before I import, or no, that's wrong. So I go into Lightroom, I import my photos into Lightroom. Then I go into photo mechanic, open up the photos that I imported, and I cull them that way. So I 5-star all the photos I want to keep. Then after that, I go back to Lightroom and update the metadata on all the photos. And that's usually how I do it. If you check out my past live streams, you'll see a lot of that, because I've done the whole process a couple of times. Do you critique your subscribers' work? I'd love feedback as possible. I do sometimes. I do try and keep that towards Patreon mainly. So if you do want to do that, or I may do a stream every now and then where I'll critique some stuff. Oh yeah, the clouds. You can tell the clouds rolled in. So see, this was full sunlight and wonky shadows and stuff. And then the clouds rolled in and you get this nice, soft, shaded look. I always love when the clouds finally roll in. You're just like, yes. Critique the photos, be easy. John, do the natural fills preset pack work on different cameras with off-camera flash? It does. Obviously it lends itself to natural light a little bit better, but it does work with off-camera flash. Here are the guys. These photos were in Hoboken. This was like 2016, so this stuff is old. Man, those clouds rolling in and out was the worst. Do you think you'll carry on using the battery grips with the XT4? I don't know. So I'm not going to be using my XT4 for photos, but I have recently, like the New York Times piece that I did recently was with the XT4. And I also shot my XT4 at my last wedding that I did. And yeah, I mean, the battery is ridiculous. I probably would get the grip just because I don't like having to switch the batteries. But the XT4 with the grip on it, your battery will probably last at least at least 8 hours, because I got a good 6 out of 1 battery without the grip on the XT4, and I was highly surprised. So yeah, these black and whites were too flat. See if you find a couple portraits. But yeah, you can kind of tell how my style has changed a bit. Not too much though. Still very indicative of how I shoot. I'm new to photography. I have learnt a lot over the past month. I want to get into wedding photography. How long did it take you to get into wedding photography? So I basically kind of jumped into wedding photography fairly quickly. I'd say within my first year or so of photography, I was already starting to dabble in wedding photography. Let me give y'all the whole story. And I wonder, no, because it's not old enough, is it? Oh yeah, it is. Do I have my first wedding on here? It doesn't look like it. No. Let me pull up some stuff for y'all. Well, let me pull up some stuff for you all. So April 2014, I think, was my first ever paid session. So first ever paid session, I did that, and it was awesome. And then I had another paid session, and then after that, I got another paid session. And then at that, and these are all like engagement shoots. So at that third paid session, the bride-to-be was grilling me about if I did wedding photography, and I was just kind of like, not really. I'm pretty new. You know, maybe I've seconded it like once or twice or whatever. And I don't know, she just liked my work so much. She was like, I want you to do our wedding. And I was like, word? So she booked me. That was my first ever booked wedding, but it was like a year away. So I kind of freaked out a little bit because I haven't really done weddings. So I was like, I really need to prepare and learn and be good for when I get to their wedding. So then that's when I started getting on Thumbtack, and I started doing small weddings. So this was my first ever wedding. Very small little wedding that I found on Thumbtack. And basically the way this wedding happened, so it was in Central Park, and technically I was only supposed to take photos of like cocktail hour reception time on a little bit, but I was like very intense about like, I want to do this and I want to do well. So I showed up early, kind of like I would say in my full wedding day videos. And I get there, and I guess when you book a wedding in Central Park, they just give you some rando photographer. So this dude shows up, and he doesn't care. He probably gets paid fairly well to just show up and take a couple of photos. So he sees me there, you know, with my whole fast gear and my double cameras and all my gear. And he's like, word? He's like, forget this, I'm going home. He's like, this guy has it handled. So that's what happened. You'll see here in the photos that I started off and I showed up early. And then the planner was like, oh, are you going to the ceremony? And I was like, oh, I guess so, if I can. So I went over there, and that's when the guy saw me and like left. So I was able to capture the whole ceremony and everything. There's my old logo. Look at that old school logo. So this was my first wedding ever. It was probably like 4 to 5 hours. Nothing much. They had a small little ceremony in Central Park. All their friends and family were there. You know, easy, quick and easy stuff. And so this isn't a full day. I don't have like them getting ready and all that kind of stuff. It's just literally the ceremony, some portraits. Good little portraits and stuff. Them at their cocktail hour. So that was my first wedding ever. And then after that, a good friend of my wife was getting married. So I did their wedding for free because it was like I knew them. She was cool with my wife, so I knew it'd be fine. So I was like, cool, I'll do your wedding. So here's this wedding. This is also a short little whatever. It wasn't a huge thing. It was just the ceremony, some photos, and a little bit of the reception, which they just went to a bar and got crunk. So I wasn't trying to be around for that. Let me see. Did you study photography at school or are you self-taught? I am self-taught. I took pretty much about a year before I actually started shooting stuff. Because I hate, there's a lot of people who just grab a camera and they're like, I'm a photographer. Like, please take the time to try and learn and understand kind of like the science side of photography. And I'm not trying to act like I know everything, but I took the time to learn it and understand it before I started taking people's money. Hi, John. I recently found your channel. Love your work. Recently upgraded DSLR XT3. Yeah, Team Fuji. For stills, not realizing XT4 was released. No, you're not missing out. The XT3 and XT4, there are advantages to the XT4, but I think they're very comparable. And I also, yet again, in my opinion, I think the XT4 is better suited for someone who wants to mainly do video. Because I think I thought I had it behind me. No, oh yeah, it's right here. Good old XT4. So I bought mine to be my video camera. So I have two XT3s as stills and then this one extra as video. I have used it as stills and it is nice. I'm gonna admit, but I don't think you're missing out on anything. I don't even know why I left these two photos in. It's so bad. But yeah, this was my second wedding ever. Very straightforward, just small stuff. Oh my God, these people in their cars. Then after that, I kept taking stuff on Thumbtack. So I ended up getting this wedding, which was probably one of my favorite ones. This was my third wedding ever. It was in Brooklyn. It was a really cool couple. We're actually really close now. I still talk to them every now and then. This was a funny wedding. I actually dropped the bride's dress and the mother of the bride saw me drop it. She like watched me drop it. Thank goodness they were like, cool. The mom was just kind of like, do you need some help? And I was like, oh God, I'm so, I was like, oh, it was the worst. I was like reaching up to get to something and it was like just a little bit too high. Dropped the dress. And the mom was literally like right there watching. I was like, oh my God. So that's yet again, that's another reason why like when you start weddings, make sure you're taking on like smaller, cheaper weddings. Don't be like in there trying to make 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Don't do it. Do not do it when you start, because you're gonna make a mistake like that and it's gonna turn into like a lawsuit or something. And if you're starting out, you don't want that. You don't want that when you're starting out. It's still better than anything I would do. Hey bro, how's things been? Any plans on becoming Fujifilm ambassador? Since I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who bought Fujifilm mainly because of your videos. So I really do want, I've been trying to become an ambassador for a while. Things currently, they sent out a email, you know, about everything going on and stuff and their support of Black Lives Matter. And they also in that email sent a link for people to sign up because they're like, yeah, we need some diversity on our ambassador team because we kind of suck with that. So I did sign up for that. So if y'all want to start like tweeting at Fuji or something and letting them know about me, they said they were going to have results on that around the 24th, 25th. When they emailed everyone, they told me that there were about 75 people who signed up and they're only going to pick 5. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be a Fuji ambassador in the next week or so, but I don't know. It'd be really cool. When did you decide to go full-time as a photographer? So I decided to go full-time. It's actually only been 2 years. So I've only been a full-time wedding photographer for 2 years now. Basically what happened with that is I was living in New York. I was working at Squarespace and doing wedding photography at the same time. So I did that for 4 years. That's how I grew my skills and got better at wedding photography. And for anyone who has a day job, that's the best way to start learning wedding photography, because you have a stable check. So you can do cheap weddings and it's not like detrimental to your business, because you only need a couple $100s anyway, and you can use that to reinvest in the business, which was what I was doing. Squarespace paid the bills, it fed the family, and photography was reinvesting into itself. So I could buy better cameras, buy more gear, use stuff like Honeybook or PicTime or something to deliver my photos. That's what all that money went into. So I did that for 4 years, and then I had like 2 kids. We were living in New York. Me and my wife had no family in the area. So we decided to move back to North Carolina, which is home for me. She's from Boston. And so now I'm like close to my mom again and all that kind of stuff. So that's when we decided to go full time. Basically, it was like, hey, since Squarespace only allows you to work for them if you're in the tri-state area, I'm going to go ahead and quit. And I know that my resume is good, but let's try to see if we can make wedding photography work and pay the bills and everything. And if not, then, you know, I'll just apply for another job. So I just up and quit. And yeah, so that was basically 2018. Booked enough weddings to survive, and here I am now, 2 years full-time wedding photography, and it's going very well. Is there any gear that you bought that you wish you didn't? I don't know if I would say I wish I didn't. I've definitely bought a bunch of gear that doesn't get used too often, like my what's that back behind me, the Weeble S gimbal, which I use it, but like I don't do enough video right now, so it pretty much hangs there on the wall. Also the 90 f2. The only reason I bought that is because I went to a church one time for a wedding, and they were basically like, okay, you have to stand in the back of the room and do nothing. You can't move nowhere, you can't go anywhere. And I was like, oh, the longest lens I had on me was the 56, and it wasn't really long enough, so I bought the 90 f2. That also doesn't get a lot of use. I like getting closer to my subjects. I don't like being far away like that. What will your job be as an ambassador? So from what I've heard, from what I understand, and I don't know a lot about Fuji ambassadors, but basically I believe you sometimes get free gear. You get trial gear. So like I was actually, what was dope, so I was at a workshop at the beginning of the year, and one of the photographers there, she was a Fuji ambassador, and they had shipped her a new camera, which she was mad because she's like, I'm at a photography conference. How am I going to hide this? There's going to be mad people asking me about it. So she had her box with her, and it was obviously like, you know when you get a delivery of a camera and it has like the lithium ion battery stickers on it and all that stuff. So everyone was like, what's that? And she was just like, oh, it's something from Fuji. We were like, word? I think that was the what released this year. What was it, the 100V or something? I'm pretty sure that's what camera it was. So they'll send you stuff like that to test out and then send back to them. I've also heard that you get discounts. So like you'll get, I don't know how much, but you'll get discount on Fuji gear and stuff. I've also heard as a Fuji ambassador, you have to only use Fuji gear, which is fine because I am only using Fuji right now. So that's all I know, but that's not, none of that is like in stone. That's just what I've heard through the grapevine and watching some videos and stuff. But yeah, so this is my 3rd wedding ever. I did pretty well actually for not really doing weddings. I literally just kind of jumped in there and was doing it. Great channel, congrats from Portugal. Thank you so much. See, I want to take a second camera with me to my next wedding. Should I get an XT30 or the XT20? I don't have much money to get an XT3. So I love the XT30. There's some small issues I have with it. I can actually show y'all real quick. All right. So my biggest gripe with the XT30 is actually there's two things. So the Q button is super annoying. Where is it? It is super annoying where they placed it. You press it all the time, and they did a firmware update where it doesn't switch to Q the moment you click on it, but it's still mad annoying. And also there's not a D-pad on it. There's only the nub. So it makes it hard to get the stuff. Comparative to like your XT3 or your XT4, this little D-pad, this makes a huge difference. It makes the hugest difference in being able to get to all of your stuff quicker. So the XT30 though is good. Video, like photo quality wise and everything, is awesome, and it's like tiny. Like look how, especially compared to the XT, like look at that. What's wrong with my mouse? Yeah, this was a fun wedding. Good times. I don't know how I learned Flash. That was just kind of some like, I don't know, trial and error. I barely remember doing Flash. Here was another small elopement I did, which was also someone I found on Thumbtack. So that was what I was just finding whatever I could on Thumbtack. Small little whatever weddings to get my like feet wet. And I did that up until I finally got to the wedding. This was a second shooting gig. And then this was the wedding that I booked. So it was literally like a year later. And when I booked her, I had never shot in a wedding. But by the time I got to her wedding, I had shot like 6 or 7. So her wedding, or her booking me, was what really got me in the door with wedding photography, because it made me really be like, okay, you need to get in there, you need to learn this, you need to learn it well, or you're gonna book her and you're gonna suck. Let's see. Do you give couples prints or anything physical with their photos after the wedding? I do. It depends on what the couple pays for and what's in their package. I have an album. I was just showing a couple yesterday, so I can show y'all some of that. So here is one of my wedding albums. Basically, my couples have to pay for the album. I don't just really give them an album because that tends to turn into a whole ordeal. I use Red Tree albums for my printing. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. Actually, I don't even know what the website is. Let me find it for y'all real quick. Oh, yeah, it is Red Tree albums. So Red Tree albums, they do really nice high-end albums, and you have to be a photographer to be able to buy the albums. You can't just be anybody and get on there. So they're really, really nice albums. And then they can send you swatches, so you can see all the different materials they have. They have like fabric stuff, different fabrics and linens. They have leather. And this stuff you can show to your clients. So they can be like, oh, nice. So they can figure out what they want and everything. And then here's the album in this nice little protective case. And so yeah, here is the linen album and everything. And then inside of it, it has these nice flat open kind of pages. So yeah, I send this kind of stuff to my couples, but they have to pay for it basically. It's good stuff. And then I use a program called Smart Albums to design the photos and everything, which I think I've used it on stream once. It's pretty quick and easy to use. Do you have natural fills on your first wedding? I did not. I was using Master Lab presets. So even like on the stuff you're seeing right now on the stream, that's all Master Labs. They're really good stuff. If y'all are looking for like a preset to buy that's just very general, or if you use film and you're looking to match the film and stuff, Master Labs is really nice. I've always loved their stuff. Man, I almost slipped and fell into the water at this wedding. It rained during the wedding, because you can kind of see it in this photo. Like, it had stopped. So it was like wet. And we went out onto this pier. And the pier was kind of slick and wet. And I literally almost tripped and fell. But I love this wide shot. This was like a Brenizer. Good stuff. Let's see. What else do I have? So many questions. When editing your photos, do you use the same preset for all the photos? I do. Yep. Natural Fills preset across the board. And then some are in color, some are black and white. I like to do it that way because then everything stays consistent and you don't have like on your website, your photos aren't looking like drastically different. What is your favorite lens for the XT3? It's kind of a tie. And it depends on how I'm shooting, but the 35 f2 and the 56 f1.4 or f1.2. I always forget what it is. Is it 1.2? Either way, it's good. The 56 is probably the winner, but the 35 f2 is right behind it. Congrats on the 30K. I'm an up-and-coming wedding photographer, YouTuber. I watch a lot of your content. Awesome. I have to check out your stuff. I wonder, will this let me click and look at your stuff? It won't. I'm about to look you up. Uh-oh, I'm like the worst. Can't type nothing. I don't even know what I'm doing. There you go. Here he is, 56 subs. Stay in there, man. Keep it up. You should do a work studio tour. I'm always looking at your background. It seems cool. I've been planning on doing one of those videos for a while now. I just haven't done it, and my room's not very clean. I gotta clean it up. But yeah, this is the story behind my studio. Is this actually the master bedroom in the townhouse that we're staying in? So my wife saw how well the YouTube was doing, so she was like, we can switch rooms. And so I took the master bedroom, so I have space, and it was needed because doing YouTube stuff and being able to shoot stuff in different places, it's definitely, you need space. So yeah, office tour is coming up sometime soon. Probably very soon. I need to go ahead and do it. I've just been slacking on that. How long do you wait before sending a follow-up reminder email to leads? Ooh, that's a great question. So generally not that long, like maybe a day. I have someone that I need to reply to them right now. But so basically my process is someone books a wedding, or I'm sorry, someone inquires with me. I get back to them as quickly as I can, like literally as quickly as I can. If I'm not able to do it in like 30 minutes to an hour, I'm at least doing it the same day, so only a couple of hours. After that, they reply and they either book a meeting with me. And then when we do the meeting, I usually do my meetings over FaceTime or Zoom or something. And I've always done that. That's not new because of the pandemic or whatever. I've always done that. So, because it's just easier than having to go meet in person. But I will meet in person if that's what they want to do. After we meet and chat, then I send them a proposal. So that's the full price, contract, and everything. And from there, they book. Now, if I hit them up and I don't hear from them, I wait a day. And then I've made like an automated workflow that will email them every like 3 days to be like, hey, where are you? Hey, what's going on? Hey, you want to chat more? Hey. And then eventually it's just like, okay, I'm opening back your date because I haven't heard from you. So, you know, if you do want your date, please let me know and we go on from there. Hi from Germany. Just happened to find your streaming. Awesome. Thank you so much. I wanted to move to Germany. I almost did. Long ago. Congrats on cracking 30K. Thank you. How do you organize your files? I always get lost. Let me show y'all. Because yeah, I try to keep my system about exactly the same. So I have a photos export, and this is just my JPEGs. So I have two different places where I have everything. I have all my RAWs, and then I also have my JPEGs. So for the JPEGs, I sort it by year. So like we can go look at 2019, and then we'll say, you know, I have album photos. Here's bridal, engagement. So I sort it by what type of session it was. So let's say weddings. And then under weddings, I sort it by the couple, or you can even call that like the session itself. And then inside of their folder, I sort it by sections of the day. So I can easily be like, cool, here's when the bride was getting ready. And then I know I have all of the getting ready photos there. And that's basically how I sort everything. And it's the same thing for the raw files. So I think my raws are in here. So yeah, I sort it by year. I tend to dump a whole year off and put it on my Synology to back it up, because the raw photos take up a lot of space. But so 2020, and then separate it by type of session, and then separate it by the couple's name. And then you'll have all the raw files just in there. Awesome work. Fully inspired after every video. I was wondering, do you deliver only edits? If so, how many? Yes, I only deliver edits. Generally, I quote my couples an average of 650, but it can range depending on the day, how long the day was, how much they had going on at the day. So there's a lot of different things. You can kind of see it. Let's jump into my pick time real quick. So here are all my galleries. And so like you take a general wedding or something like this, and they received, 668 photos. So it ranges around there. Sometimes it's more or less. Like sometimes I deliver pretty heavy. You're talking like thousands of photos. But yeah, I had a pretty busy year last year. So this year has been kind of funny seeing how different it is. I do not really understand English. I'm from Russia, but I fell madly in love with your voice. Love your beautiful videos. Thank you so much. What is the hardest thing of being a wedding photographer? Your sub from Italy. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for watching. The hardest thing about wedding photography, I would say, such a hard question. I think it's just being able to kind of roll with the punches. I know a lot of photographers, they have a hard time with, you know, just kind of improvising on the fly. Because there's not a lot of things that are in your control on a wedding day. Which is why, if you've watched any of my videos, like I talk about how you have to front end everything. Like before the wedding, if you don't have a timeline that you built as the photographer, not just the planner made a timeline so you show up at that time. Don't let other people plan your time. Make a timeline. And if there's a planner, you know, work with their timeline, but have a timeline that's for you so you can tell people and show people, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is where I'm going to be. This is what I need. And then the planners will also work with you because planners understand that the photography is probably like one of the most important things outside of making the whole event run. So make sure you're front loading everything. That's probably the hardest part, because if you don't do that, when stuff runs late, when something like doesn't go the way you thought it was, it'll fall apart if you didn't already have like a nice, stable, full plan and everything. Like it literally, the whole thing will fall apart. So I think that's the hardest. And just kind of making sure you manage expectations of everyone at the wedding. Those are the biggest. Because if you can't do those two things, it will be a shipwreck. And when that happens, it is not fun. Hey, love your videos. Not sure if you saw my question about your thoughts on Adobe's new updates in Lightroom and Photoshop on the iPad. Yeah, I've been checking it out a little bit. I haven't used it too much, but I'm actually going to do a video on it. I'll probably, wow, it's only 10 o'clock. I'll probably make that video today at some point, because I want to show y'all all the updates and everything. Like, they're pretty cool updates. It's nothing like hugely life-changing. They finally added trackpad support, so you can use the Magic Keyboard with it, which is nice. The versions thing is a little weird to me. I thought it was going to be like creating a virtual copy, but it's not. So I guess it's okay. And then the other big thing is being able to edit in Photoshop, which is cool. That's something you can do in Lightroom Classic, but it's nice now that you can basically just like go the Lightroom, or excuse me, for Photoshop, and then do any kind of edits you need to do there. From Thailand, I use XT3. Why can't I make beautiful pictures? Oh no. Well, remember, it's not always about the camera. It's about the photographer and understanding light. So that's really what it comes down to. Understanding light, understanding composition, and working from there. So if you're having a hard time making beautiful photos, which yet again, that's subjective, just try and work more so with light and understanding light and how your camera reacts to light. That's the first place to start out. Do you sometimes hire a second photographer for any of your bookings? Or are you a one-man team? I do. That also is yet again dependent on the couple. So adding a second photographer to your day is not something that I just like make required. Basically, I tell my couples why they may or may not want a second and have them decide. If they don't use a second, they save a little bit of money. But if not, I have a second there with me. So it depends, but majorly most of my weddings I do by myself. Were you doing any other photography before weddings? I shot a little bit of like, quote unquote, everything, I guess you can say. Where did my finder window go? That thing just left me hanging. Let's go back through some more of my old photography. So let's see. Yeah, I have like family stuff here. So I was doing family stuff for a while. I don't do it too often. Oh, I'm not even showing it. There you go. So I did some family stuff. Family is not my jam. It's mainly because I found that if the kids don't like you, then the session is like horrible. So I don't do families that often. What else I got in here? What is this? I used to do a lot of street photography. This is stuff I took on my iPhone. And this is old. This is like 2016. This is old stuff. I used to do portraits and stuff. So I got a bunch of just lifestyle portraiture stuff I used to do. Some more photos. This is one of my favorites. Lighting is so good. But yeah, I like my first year or so, I did a bunch of different styles of photo or photography, and none of them clicked like wedding photography. It just wasn't working out the same way. Thank you for the answers. I'm glad y'all liking the answers. What's your biggest fail on a wedding? So earlier I talked about how I dropped the dress when the mom was watching, that's like photography no. Like if you're a wedding don't ever drop the dress. Just don't drop the dress. And that was like my third wedding. I dropped the dress and the mom saw me do it, and luckily everyone was cool and she was just kind of like, "Oh, do you need some help?" Any other big fails for weddings? I don't have a lot of fails. I've had a very smooth career, luckily. There were no big, huge fails. I guess one of the fails I had, which was funny, and luckily I was really close with the couple. We got like really close throughout their engagement session. They actually did a in-home engagement session, so I'll come to their house and take photos of them hanging out in their house, and then we went outside and took some other photos. But at that wedding, for some weird reason, they had given me the rings after I photographed them and stuff. So I had them in my little hold fast bag on the back. And so we're at the ceremony and they're like, "Okay, the rings." And like the maid of honor and the best man are just like, "We don't have the rings." And everyone's looking around like, and I was like, "Oh God, where are the rings?" And I was like, "Oh snap, I have them." So I had to pull the rings out and like walk up and be a part of the ceremony. It was just like the weirdest thing. Like if that was a couple that we weren't that cool, that would have been an issue, and it would have been like, "Oh John, you just messed up our whole da. Wow." So luckily we were all cool. Congrats on the 30K. Have you done any night weddings? Which flash is a must? Not night, but I mean every wedding, you get to reception time and you have to use flash. So, I use a lot of flash during receptions. That's a 100% you have to use flash. That's awesome. Looking forward to the video. Interesting. It has Magic Keyboard Trackpad support now. I didn't see that in the notes. Yeah, it wasn't in the notes, but it's there. I didn't fully try it out yet either. Oh, there goes my headphones. So you see they got the, I don't know if y'all can see the new logo. It's all flat looking. But yeah, you can tell there's trackpad support now because I can scroll. You weren't able to do that before. Like if you go and watch my video where I edit photos on the iPad only, that's one thing I talk about multiple times, is that you can't scroll. I don't know if you can right click. It looks like you cannot. What? It said share your process? Share edit? So here's the top. You have your edit in Photoshop thing. I don't know if y'all can see that. What is share edit? Apply more edits before submitting photo. Let me find a photo that has edits on it. So here's an edit. And then share edit. Share your editing process with Lightroom users around the world. They'll see the original, all the edits you made, and the final image. You can even let others save your edit settings as a preset. Enable save as preset. Wow. Cool stuff. Yeah, I'll have to check it out, and I'll be making a video about it soon. What else I got in here? Man, these are old. This was one of my favorite shots from this session. Do you ever want to try the Viltrox 23, 33, or 56? Yes, someone emailed me and wanted to send me the 23, and I thought I replied to them, but I don't see a reply in my email, and I never got anything in the mail, so. But if I do get it, you will see a video, because that's one thing. So on the channel, I'm trying not to just do videos about anything random, but I'm trying to keep it themed around photography tech, and like being a creative entrepreneur, so a working photographer. There's not a lot of people on YouTube who are talking as much about being a working photographer. Like you have your Taylor Jacksons and all of them, but it's either mainly a lot of videographers or photographers, and they're just like, here's some gear, here's that gear, here's that gear, here's some more gear. Like, I want to come at it from a perspective of like, here's things that will help you as a photographer to get money. So if I'm reviewing stuff, it's just to let y'all see what it's like and see how you can use it. But I don't want to be too gear heavy. Like, I've been taking a little long on this, but I recently got the tour box. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this or seen any ads. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Come on, focus. There it goes. So I got this in the mail, and I need to do a video on it. Look how it shows fingerprints pretty heavily. It's like a matted, but this is for editing in Lightroom and stuff, and it's a little controller. I did an unboxing video, but I need to go ahead and finish and do a full video on it. But yeah, like, I'll be doing stuff like this, different tech stuff that goes along with photography. That's basically my plan with the channel. Yep. Kids set the mood. Yep. Family photography. Kids always, like, you show up and you're like, hey kids, and they're like, we don't like this guy. It's like, well, there it is. The whole session is gonna suck. Do you only focusing on the bride and groom second, or at a wedding do you get everyone that comes to the event? I tend to only focus on the bride and groom and things that are happening close to the bride and groom. So I will be getting photos of other people, but it's either if they're interacting with the bride and groom, or the bride and groom aren't doing anything and there's other stuff happening. When I have a second photographer, I have that person there to kind of help out and take other photos while I focus on the bride and groom. Here, hold on real quick. I gotta get some water. My throat is like, All right. Gotta get this good old Ricola. I don't know why my throat's been so dry recently. Coat my throat. All right. Back to the questions. Will you keep this broadcast? Yes. It will be on the channel. You can check it out. Engagement sessions. Wow, these are so old. I don't even know who any of these people are anymore. So old. It was weird. So my first couple of years, I did a lot of sessions, but I never had weddings. I would like shoot their engagement session and then not shoot the wedding. They would only book me for engagement. This was a Brenizer shot. This was also back in the day with my Canon 6D. Also, not sure if this has been asked, but as a sole Fujifilm user, I wondered what your path was to purely Fuji. So I was shooting Canon. I had a Canon 6D was my main camera. That's the shot you're seeing now. And then I joined a team as an associate photographer, and my mentor, he was the lead photographer of that company. He's really good because he doesn't want people to just be associates. He actually trains you and teaches you. And he shoots Fuji. And one day I was at a wedding with him, and he had his XT2, and he was like, "Hey, you should just you should hold this in your hands and try it out." And literally I used it one time and was like, "It's so good. What is this?" And like totally switched all my gear. So I switched like that too. No questions asked. Immediately switched. And I've always been happy with it. I've been on Fuji now for like 3 years. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I've been warned of issues with Fujifilm RAWs and Lightroom. Do you encounter any issues? Sorry if I answered it. No, I'm answering all the questions. It's okay. Issues with Fujifilm files and Lightroom. I haven't had any huge issues. The biggest thing everyone talks about is the whole warming, which does happen, but I have a system now for how I go through and sharpen my photos, so I don't have to deal with that. The colors are a little bit different as well versus like Capture One, but that's also something that I'm fine with and I've dealt with and I know how to deal with it. So if anyone's like telling you like, "Oh, don't switch to Fuji because of Lightroom," and like don't listen to them. You can use Lightroom. Me and Reggie Ballesteros. I don't know if you've watched his channel. I'll link him in here for y'all too. He's another Fujifilm photographer. We've actually met in person. It was so cool. But he's cool. He's cool peoples. And if you want someone who focuses on photography and really gets in depth about how to, make sure to check out his channel. Reggie's stuff is really cool. But I forgot why I was bringing him up now. Just check out his stuff. He's awesome. But yeah, that's why. He uses Lightroom only. He's also one of those people, like, everyone's like, "What about Capture One?" And it's like, that's great, but like, you can get it done in Lightroom, and Lightroom's fast, and we know Lightroom, so it's possible. Don't let people saying that Lightroom and Fuji doesn't work together, like, stop you from using Fuji. What do you use for storage systems? So I have a couple of hard drives. So I have 2 G drives, 2 external hard drives. I have like 4 internal hard drives because my Mac is a custom-made PC. So I have a backup drive. I have a drive that houses all my photos, and then a couple other drives. And then I also have a Synology, which I make backups of that as well. So after I've had all my raw photos on my main camera, on the computer, and then I have the backup drive as well, I moved the photos off of the main computer onto the Synology and back them up there. I export all my JPEGs onto one of those G drives and back them up there. And then that stuff is also being backed up to the cloud. I love the aspect about your channel. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it, you know, not just gear. Because a lot of people talk about gear. Just like I caught a lot of slack from my 7 essentials for starting a photography business. Because I didn't really talk about gear. And I'm like, everyone talks about gear. Like, gear's not going to make you money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can literally buy a camera and a kit lens. And if you're that good and you know how to run a business, you'll make money. So gear's like, it's important, but I feel like people and a lot of photographers focus too much on the gear versus just getting good and running a business well. Because the biggest thing to remember, especially wedding photography, is mainly customer service. It's not photography. It's mainly customer service. Obviously, you have to be good at taking photos, and you have to be able to do it quick, and you have to be able to do it well and turn out great product. But the main thing that most photographers deal with is customer service. And if you're not good at customer service, you're going to suck at wedding photography. It's that easy. You can make the best photos in the world, and if you're not good at customer service, you're not going to be great at wedding photography in a whole. You'll just take good photos and people will be like, oh, he's cool and all, but, you know, they're a great photographer, but they're also, like, not fun to work with. So you'll only book but so much. Congrats on the 30K. Thank you so much. Flash settings for nightclub photography. Any advice? Those portraits are lit. Thank you much. Flash settings. It depends. I talk about flash settings in one of my videos. I was trying to see if I had my flashes close by. I do. Let me. Okay, so again, generally this is how I set up my flashes. I typically do on-camera flash, which I know everyone's like, on-camera flash? You don't do off-camera? You know, I do what works. It has a different look and style to it, and, you know, whatever. The pictures are good. So I'm usually shooting fairly wide, so I'm not, like, far away from the subject. So I'll take a mag sphere, plop that on my flash, aim it straight up, and I usually go at about 1/32 power or 1/16, depending on how close I am to my subjects. So you can kind of see that there. And then that's literally it. And then I just shoot it off that way. I bring the ISO up a little bit on my camera, so maybe to like 800. That brings out all the ambient light in the room, so all the background lights and everything. And my shutter speed's like 1/200th. And yeah, the flash stops the motion and it's pretty good. These sessions are so old. Oh God, what was I doing? So bad. Yeah, I would have loved to do their engagement, or I meant their wedding, but there was some reason they didn't hire me. I can't remember. That's a cute photo. Let's see. Let's go into my 2017. What do we have in here? Oh yeah, I messed up something at this. Oh yeah, there is a... When he got down on his knee to do the engagement, I like blew those photos out. I was like totally overexposed. It was a sad time. Been solely Fuji based for 3 to 4 years now. I also came from Canon. Nice. My wife and I are starting a photo business together, and she isn't sold on Honeybook because she thinks automated emails aren't personal. Can you explain how Honeybook still allows you to be personal? Yeah, so one off, I agree. Automated emails are not personal, and it's not good. So don't do that. Highly agree with that. However, when you start getting a lot of emails and clients, you have to have some kind of systems. So you can make some of the emails automated. Don't make them all automated, just make some of them automated, and it helps out. So for Honeybook, basically the way you can make stuff automated without making it sound totally robotic is there's a couple of things. So you can make workflows for yourself, which are going to be, emails that you can plan out, and you can have those go out for only certain cases. So for instance, if I contact a couple or they get in contact with me and my first email is a reply, I write that out by hand. So that's totally personal. You need to reply to those emails personally. If I don't hear back from them, then I have a workflow of 3 different emails to get in touch with them. Each of those emails I have to approve before they go out. So if for some reason they email me back, it's not like an automated email is going to go out. Also in your automated emails, you can set up things like where it'll fill in their name automatically for you. So it can still be personal, and or you can just make templates that have like sections of an email. Or what you might want to check out is like a text expander. So what text expanders do basically is you can be typing and you type like a phrase or something like IRL or something, and then it can make a whole literally like paragraph come out. So if you use a text expander, it's easy to do something like, hey, how are you doing today? Blah, 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 email, and then text expand, bloop. And then that does a whole section, because there's a lot of things you're going to type out all the time. So those are the things that need to be automated. So I would say don't discount Honeybook just because it seems like it's all automated. When we talk about automation, it's something that you can build and control. I do type out a lot of my emails. It's not just hands down automated emails. So Gaston, if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to show you and your wife a little bit about Honeybook and how you can personalize it, because what she's saying is very true. And you do need to work around that. And there are ways to do it. What's your best business tip you could give to yourself, your younger self? I needed to be better with my money. The first literally like 5 years of being a wedding photographer, I didn't do too well with my money. I'm doing a lot better with it now, especially because it like pays the bills, and it kind of has to. But yeah, I could have definitely probably done more with my money. Oh yeah, I forgot about this session. Wow, these photos are so old. I shot in Central Park all the time. Everyone was like, can we do an engagement session in Central Park? Okay. Other than word of mouth, where do most of your clients find you? I'm in the UK, so sites may differ. So I advertise on The Knot. I get a lot of clients there. Instagram has been bigger for me recently, just from posting very consistently. So Instagram is actually probably the best place to get clients. I used to use Thumbtack, but they're a little overpriced right now. And that's really it. And then word of mouth. Yeah, The Knot's been good to me. I would recommend it for anyone. Just watch out. They try and charge you a little too much. In recent times, especially because weddings have been kind of all over the place, I actually may cancel my Knot account. I'm not sure. I haven't booked anything off in The Knot for a while now, so we'll see how that goes. There are a million reviews out there. We need more videos with the business side of things. Yeah, that's exactly my point with like gear. Like I'm gonna do some gear and stuff, but that's all people on YouTube do. It's like, here's a lens, here's the camera, here's a lens, here's the camera. How do I make money with a lens and a camera? You know, That's why I found it so funny that like so many people were like, you know, like, oh, you didn't talk about cameras and flashes and lenses in my 7 essentials to start a bit. And I was like, well, yeah, because, you know, that's like asking or telling a plumber that he didn't talk about, I don't know, wrenches or snakes or whatever plumbers, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, no, duh, he's a plumber, that's what he uses. You know, like, obviously if you're starting a photography business, you're going to need a camera and a lens, but we need to talk about the business, because same as a plumber, you know, you don't just get a toolbox and they go, I'm a plumber. Like, you need to know what you're doing. You need to understand like the piping and how the water works, and you need to advertise yourself so people hire you. Your wrench ain't gonna get you hired. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with a camera. A camera and a lens is not gonna get you hired. Ooh, I have flashes and soft boxes and none of that ain't gonna get you hired. You know? It's funny. So yeah, there's a lot of too much gear talk on YouTube, and I hope to fill the space a little bit with like, you know, software and stuff you can use with your business to make money. Because yet again, me using PicTime and selling prints and delivering my photos, that makes me money. My camera obviously is what I do. I'm a photographer, but getting a new lens is not gonna make me more money. Your clients don't care. They're like, do you have a camera? Does it work? Are your pictures good? Yeah. Okay. Well, I just upgraded from the 16 f2.8 to the 16 f1. Okay, they don't care. It makes my photos so much better. How? They looked good before. It's too much gear. Let me stop ranting though. Are you big? I don't understand that question. Like, am I huge? Am I tall? I mean, I'm not super tall. I'm kind of short for a guy, I guess. I'm like 5'8", 5'7", something. 5'7" and some change. 5'8". I'm not very tall. But you know who's short? One time I ran into Ben Stiller when I was in New York, because I used to work in an audio post-production house, and the floor below us was a video house, so I guess he was there doing something, and he was trying to sneak out, so he went out of like the freight elevator, and I was in there taking out the trash, and I remember he gets on the elevator and he's just looking at me like, please don't say anything. I know that I'm famous. And I just kind of looked at him like, wow, Ben Stiller. And I was like, dang, you short, bro. He came to like here to me. He's like not tall at all. I was very surprised. Do you ever use the video feature or do video using for the XT4? Wondering if the XT4 is worth the money. Yes. So I got my XT4 specifically to be my video camera. Mainly, yet again, because I can flip it forward and do vlogging type stuff and things like that. Or even when I'm traveling, if I'm at a hotel room and I want to make a video, I don't have to bring like an extra monitor with me. I just have this nice little thing and I can, you know, sit it down and bloop, there it is. And I can see myself and do it that way. I would say the XT4 is definitely worth the money for a video camera, especially because it has IBIS. The XT3 is good too. I love the video on the XT3. I use it most of the time. What you're seeing right here is the XT3. It's probably one of the best cameras. Thanks for the answers. You're welcome, y'all. Let's keep going through some of these old photos that I don't even remember anymore. So all this stuff is pre-Fuji. This is all Canon 60. Canon 60 was my go-to. And I had 2 of them. I pretty much always shot with double cameras, so that's not new. Basically, the only difference for me is just I switched to Fuji. This was one of my favorites from this session. That's another good one. Anytime you can get some normal, natural smiles and stuff, it's like really good. So old, so long ago. Was this Fuji? I think this was Fuji. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Fujifilm XT4. So this was around when I first kind of switched over to Fuji. So it was Fuji, but it was pre-Natural Fills preset. So so then what does get you hired? So what does get you hired is having good customer service. So like replying to couples quickly when they get in touch with you, having good client meetings, and being able to present yourself and your business and your value to your couples. Because yet again, there's like mad photographers. Everyone's a photographer. So if you're just like, hey, I'm another photographer, hire me, that doesn't give them a reason to want to hire you. So presenting yourself well, actually like showing the value to your couple. So it's like, why am I paying you this much money? What are you going to do? And just generally being likable as a business, showing them that you have it handled, that you have the tenure, you have the experience. That kind of stuff gets you hired. You know, a camera being like, I have a new camera. Like, your clients don't care. Like, they don't care. Yet again, like I was using the plumber, you know, if he was like, I got this really cool wrench that like screws faster than anything in the world, I'm like, great. Can you fix my leak? You know? Or if I go to a barber, like I want to see his work. But if he's like, yo, I got this new clippers that like are the best clippers in the world, great. I don't even know what that means. You know, like advertising gets you hired. Getting good reviews because your service is so good gets you hired. It's like that kind of stuff. Your lenses are not going to get you hired. Your lights are not going to get you hired. Knowing how to do that stuff is literally the bare minimum of a business. And that's why I talk about that stuff like that. For some reason, everyone's like, oh, like, yes, we can sit around and we can question what cameras we want. But at the end of the day, do you know how to use your camera? And that was the point between my two videos, like why you should upgrade to the XT4, why you shouldn't. That was the main point, because it's like, just because I have an XT3 and then the XT4 comes out and they're like, it has IBIS, wow, that's not going to make me a better photographer. So the real question is, from the new features, what is it going to benefit me in real life scenario? So like the battery lasting forever, that's a real life scenario. It makes it easier for me to shoot and not have to switch my batteries all the time. But like the quality is basically the same. The IBIS is cool. I can shoot at lower shutters, but I'm not going to be doing that often because I shoot people. And if you're doing that, if they're moving, then they're going to be blurry. There's like a lot of different things like that where photographers, especially nowadays, because we've been kind of wrapped up in the marketing of buying new stuff all the time, forget that like your camera and your lens is not getting you hired. That's the bare minimum stuff. That's the stuff you should already know because you're a photographer. So yeah, customer service, how you present yourself, your brand, how your brand looks online, all that kind of stuff. Do you use the Picture Lightroom plugin? And if so, oh, the pick time? I don't actually. I need to try it out. I just haven't tried it. That's what it comes down to. I just really haven't tried it. It's probably awesome, and I'm just sleeping on it. There's a lot of things sometimes you get like wrapped up in your own process. Or you're just kind of like, this is how I do it. I'm gonna do it like this all the time. If I have a fun couple, I'll like include photos like this, just like stupid stuff. This was on top of the Empire State Building. No, not Empire State, top of the rock. And then we went to a coffee shop and chilled for a moment. So it was kind of like a break, but I took photos of that as well. So this couple, I did their wedding as well. This was actually the wedding where I ended up buying the 90 F2 afterwards, because their church was like, you have to stand in the back and you can't go nowhere. And I was like, word? And luckily, the bride was cool, because she didn't know that either. So I wasn't able to prepare for it. So they told me that at the wedding. And I was like, okay, well, your ceremony photos are kind of going to suck. And she's like, that's fine. As long as the rest of the day is fine. Like, it's whatever. I can show y'all their wedding in a second too. Yeah, this was a fun session. Let me see if I can find their wedding. Marky and Jake. That was 2018. Wow, so long ago. So long ago. So this was when the bride was getting ready. I always include her flat lay photos during that section and all the details. These people in the car. So this was all flash photography. Like, if I need to, I'll use it. And this was kind of the same technique I was talking about earlier. So I have the mag sphere on my camera, have the flash pointed up like this, and I'm just filling up the room. I mean, you can see from the shadow that it's flash. Like, I really wanted to shoot that natural light, but it was just too dark, which is why here I moved her to a different room, because it was too dark. And also there was too much going, like, look at all that stuff. There was like too much going on in this room, and there wasn't a good space where I could take photos of her and also get natural light. So I moved her to a different room, which just had like a clean wall and better lighting for her getting ready. This stuff is old enough. This is probably the XT2. Yep, and I follow the same process every wedding. You take your wide shots and then you take all your close-ups. So these are all the close photos using the 35 f2. Some more 35 f2. I think this is natural fills preset at this point. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is natural fills preset. This is my favorite photo. I don't know why. I love the framing of it. So good. So good. And it looks really good in black and white too. Like, the color one is cool and all, but the black and white is, I have it printed. I don't know if y'all can see that up there. So good. So yeah, I'm hoping I become a Fuji ambassador. We'll see. I don't know what their criteria are, and I was looking at the ambassadors they already have, and besides not having a lot of diversity at all, they also, they don't have a lot of diversity in the types of photographers. It's just a whole bunch of like landscape photographers. There's not really any wedding photographers. There's like one, and that's it. There's no fashion photography. There's like no portrait photographers. It's just mainly landscape. So any new presets coming soon? So I'm hoping at some point to finish a natural fills preset version for Capture One. I'm having a hard time converting it though. I want it to work the same way it does in Lightroom, where like you apply it and you barely have to make any changes. So I'm still working with that. And I'm hoping to make a different kind of style. My plan is to create more feels, so we'll see where that goes. But I haven't really started working on one yet. If anything, I want to get the Capture One natural fill out first before I do anything else. Yeah, I like this black and white better. The color's good too. Would love to see some for Capture One. Yeah, I really want to make a natural fills in Capture One. It's just like hard. Look at that good old compression. I think this is the 56. Church looks so big. So good. Been watching you for a while. Congrats on 30K. Thank you. Thank you. So see, here's the great example. I don't like shooting backlit. I know everyone's always, oh, backlighting. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. Like, I like this much better, where obviously the light is coming towards them and on them, versus here, where this is facing the opposite direction. So like they're backlit now. I just don't like it. And I mean, yeah, I could have filled it with flash or like used a reflector or something, but I like how direct the light looks. Let's see. Yeah, I was so mad. This was such a beautiful church. And then they were like, you have to stand in the back of the church and you can't go nowhere during the ceremony. And I was like, word? It's such a good church and I can't even take photos? I was mad. And then I bought the 90 F2. Have you ever had a bride who was into taking photos, but a groom who wasn't? If so, how do you get someone excited about taking photos? So yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things that photographers deal with, and that's a very common thing. You get dudes who are just kind of over it. The biggest thing I do is get as buddy as I can with the groom, and usually that lightens the mood. When I'm super cool with the groom, and the way I approach photos anyway, I like to like pick a spot for my couple and then have them do things together. I don't like set up the perfect shot and make everyone like pose. I don't do that a lot unless the couple's into doing that. So the way that I pose my couples helps a lot with loosening up the groom, because the groom is like, most guys are already like, I gotta be in here, we're gonna be taking photos, I gotta like stand and look whatever. And then I come in like, yo, y'all go over here and hold each other and hold it real tight and like get all up in their business. And he's like, haha, that's kind of funny. And he's like, well, I can get in their business, you know what I mean? And it's stuff like that. They're like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. Like, and half the time, the way I approach taking photos, the groom ends up getting more into taking the photos than the bride. Like the bride starts being like, okay, we've already kind of taken the photos, and they're like, hey, he's like, oh, you want to do this? Like, John, can we do this thing? I'm like, yeah, man, we can do that. That's cool. Do it like this. Just do it right here. And they're like, oh, he's so into it. So that's really, make it comfortable. Make it less about the photos and more about them having a good time, and that loosens up people very quickly. And that's why I set my photos up the way I do. Like even these shots here of her with her mom, it's not like I was like, okay, now stop and pose and pretend like you're buttoning the shirt. No, I pick a spot, say, okay, right here, I want you to go ahead and button up the shirt. And then while they're going in and buttoning up the dress and everything, I'm like, oh, try to look back at your mom. Haha, it's kind of funny, I can't really turn. Or like, and then they like laugh about something that's kind of stupid. Sometimes I make things weird on purpose, but I don't make them like weird. More like, haha, this is kind of funny, why am I doing this? And stuff like that helps as well at making it not so awkward. Yeah, this was the 56. That's as close as I could get because I had to stand in the back of the church. I was so mad. Do you ever use film simulations at your shoots? Yes, but I don't edit with them. But I usually use classic chrome on everything. I like the way classic chrome has like a nice kind of flat look to it. I've thought about doing just JPEGs or even editing starting from like classic chrome or something, but I never really did. They had an open call recently through their Instagram as well. Oh, Fuji. I didn't see their open call on Instagram. Or that was probably the same thing with their email. Let me see. Was it Fuji North America? Or the Fuji GFX? Yeah, connect with us. But yeah, even like aside from diversity of people, like they need diversity of photographers too. Like they're all the same type of photographers. I always wonder why it's just a bunch of landscape photographers. I saw the chart the other day that Tamaya created, and it's time for a change. Yep, exactly. You deserve more than 30K. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna try and get there. I'm just gonna keep trucking, keep sharing this information. We're gonna keep going. But yeah, this was a fun wedding day. This was in South Carolina. Good stuff. Drove down real quick, did that wedding. And it was funny because their engagement session was in New York, and we both lived in like the New York area at the time. And then they moved down to like Charlotte, North Carolina, and I moved back down to Raleigh. And we were like, oh, hey, we're all like close to each other. And the wedding's in South Carolina, so it works out. My favorite Fuji user. Yeah, thank you. So one thing I probably should have done with these photos is I probably should have used a gel, which I don't have any gels right now and I need to buy some. But the room was so orange, like gelling my flash would have helped out, because you see how like they're kind of too cool. So I could have done some brush adjustments on them only, but doing that on every photo would have been too much. So going back and critiquing my own work, that's the biggest thing that stands out to me. The white balance is kind of wonk city on them and their skin tones. It's a little too cool. Here goes some good old light painting. Super fun reception. Then they did a sparkler exit. I shot it wide, but recently I like shooting it closer, because then you get like the bokeh of all the sparklers and stuff. Wide is cool too, but it's half and half. I was using an LED light on this to light them up. Let's see what other old 2017 stuff I have. This was a funny shoot. I actually, by accident, shot most of it in JPEG. So it ended up turning out all right, but yeah, it was like the beginning of the year or something, and I hadn't shot in a while, and I just like, you know, when you haven't taken any photos for like a long time and you just like forget what you're doing, you're like, oh, I didn't even set up my camera right. I'm just over here taking photos. And then this is Alexis Bellon. Check her out. She's also on YouTube. In your previous photos, how do you focus on subjects in the dark that are moving? I've always focused the same. I just use single point and I focus that way. A lot of the time, especially because I'm shooting fairly wide, especially when everyone's dancing, like I'm shooting from the hip, so I'm just basically like aiming like this, and I know that they're gonna be in the middle of the frame. I talked about this in one of my last live streams too, when I'm there's no card in here. This thing is like freaking out. Oh no, there's no card, I can't breathe. Let's see, settings, save data settings, sequential, there. This white balance is, oh, there we go. So basically, when I'm focusing, I have my single point kind of in the center like that. But then if I need to do some tracking, what I do is on my little pad here in the back, I switch it to a zone like that. Oh, y'all can't see it. I'm gonna make a dedicated video at some point. Hide my face so it focuses. There it goes. You can kind of see it. There's like a big square in the middle there. But basically I used that to focus. Oh, where are all my points at? Whoa. Love your preset. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's my personal preset that I use myself. So literally just sharing my own stuff. This was such an old session though. This was like 2-3 years ago, maybe. I'm sad I don't live in the New York area anymore. I always loved working with her. It was always cool. Are most clients okay with you being filmed for YouTube? Can you talk about extra agreements you make with them if you're posting footage online? So in my contract, they're already signing like model release forms. So I do have the right to use any of those photos for like advertising, for you know, any type of content creation that I need to advertise myself and stuff like that. Now, if I'm actually filming video, I usually let them know up front. Obviously, per my contract, I can do that, but I'd rather let them know. So usually for like my behind the scenes wedding, it's only for couples who I know that we're cool and that they're okay, that I'll ask them like, hey, is it okay if I bring a videographer, if I take some content of your wedding so I can make some YouTube videos? And a lot of times they're like, yeah, that's fine. But I don't ask everybody. Now for showing the photos, yet again, that's the same that I do on my website. They signed a model release, so like I can use those photos, because even showing my photos here, I've gotten actual increase from people who watch my YouTube channel. I'm just like, oh, I saw you on YouTube and you're really cool, and I'm actually getting married soon. So, you know, this is all advertisement. So yeah, it's part of the contract. But I do like to be, you know, transparent with them about stuff. I don't just like show up and start recording the whole wedding and then them be like, hey, I thought you were doing photo. You know, like I like them to know that I'm doing that. Waiting on Capture One version of the preset. Yep, it's coming at some point. I'm still trying to get my bearings in Capture One, and I like kind of converted it, but I don't know. It's not working the way I want it to, so I haven't done it yet. Who made the contract? So I started my contract off of, oh my goodness, what is that site? I think it's the Legal Tog. Yeah, the Law Tog. So she has a bunch of contracts on there that you can buy, and it's a great place to start out. And then from there, you can build the rest of your contract, and you can get a lawyer to look at it and help you out and make it more solid. But that's where I started. The Law Tog was like my base, and then I kind of built it up from there. Yeah, this session's so old. It was good times, though. Good times. Hello from Zanzibar. I have a question for you. When and how do you find yourself a wedding photographer? I pretty much I wanted to go into it and I started doing it. My first kind of like practice year, I was just taking portraits and random stuff, and basically I started doing engagement sessions, and one of my clients was like, do you do weddings? And I was like, kind of. And she was like, we want you for our wedding. So she booked me, and her wedding was a year later. So within that time, I took smaller weddings to practice and learn. And then after that, I was like in the zone, and I was just doing weddings all the time. Like that's what I was going. This was that wedding where she booked me, and a year later. So by the time I actually got to her, well, there I am. Look at me. Back when I had my hair dyed. But yeah, this was like one of my first like full weddings after I had been doing small weddings for a while, just to practice and to learn and things. And then once I did that wedding, I was like in the zone. Then at that point, I was like, in my opinion, like a wedding photographer. And I was doing pretty well. And then a little bit later, oh no, what happened to my photo? A little bit later, I joined another photography team. So I shoot for them as well as my own business. And my mentor, who's the lead of that business team, he kind of taught me the ropes from his end of stuff, which actually made a huge difference in the approach of my wedding photography. And honestly, if it wasn't for him training me and showing me some more of the ropes, because I had already been a wedding photographer for like 2 years before he started kind of showing me some more stuff. But if it wasn't for him, I probably would have done a wedding at some point that would have fell apart, and it would have been a tragedy. But with the stuff he taught me, it helped me really like hone in on my weddings and take what I already learned and kind of like advance it further. But yeah, definitely by the time I got to this wedding, I was feeling more like a legitimate wedding photographer. But there was still a lot I needed to improve on. I didn't really control my days very well. And then I think, do I have my first Fuji wedding here? This was it here. This was my first ever Fuji wedding. So there's some shots from the second photographer. She was hanging out with the groom. So these are not my photos. They're edited by me, but they're her photos. This wedding was in Chicago. But this was my first ever Fujifilm wedding. I had been shooting like engagement sessions and stuff though. So it's not like I had never used my camera and I was like, oh. That high shutter speed. So here's the first look with her parents. But I love that I was able to make it a GIF because of the high shutter speed. This was the XT2. What is your opinion on wedding packages versus starting price and add-ons? Which worked for you? So when I started on my website, I listed all my pricing. And I think that's good. I don't think there's a downside to it. The only problem is it equates you to a number and not a value. So your couples come to you and instead of thinking like, what is John going to do for me? How well is he going to do it? What am I benefiting from hiring him? They're just seeing it like, here's a photographer. Here's how much he costs. Here's another photographer. Here's how much they cost. This one's cheaper. I'm going to go with them. You want it to be less about that and more about the value. Because if it's about the price, you're like, you know, you're the same as everybody else. So I ended up switching the starting price. The only downside to starting price is you get more people inquiring with you and then you send them their pricing and then they like dip on you. Which I do think that's something I need to work on personally myself. My process doesn't need to be come to my site, see my starting price, hit me up, here's my pricing, oh cool, and then they don't get in touch with me. I need to do more than just sending my pricing. So personally, I don't think I do very well with communicating my value because your value is what's going to make couples pay for you. Your value is going to be what makes them pay more than, you know, whatever photographer. So that's the biggest thing. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but I am a fan of giving your couple something up front so you're not just getting hit up by all these random people who want to find out your price. For large groups, what is your ideal aperture? For example, for reception photos. If I'm doing group photos, honestly, so with Fuji, you don't have to stop down too hard. I'll do like 2.8 or something. But, so like these photos here, maybe 2.8 or 3.2. I don't think you need to stop down too far. Like, I really don't think you need to. Yeah, like 3.2 at most. Now reception, if we're talking about reception dancing, I'm wide open at that point. Yet again, with Fuji, f2 is kind of like almost like f3 something. So, but you know, it's dark. You need the light at that point. So yeah, that was my first Fuji wedding. And then at some point, I think I started working with that other photographer. Yeah, because this wedding was technically one of their weddings. But another great thing about him is he lets you use the photos in your own portfolio as well. So not only was he teaching me, but he was giving me like nicer weddings than I was getting at the time, which helped me book even more nicer weddings. So this was for them. This wedding here with the snow was also for them. And I think that, oh yeah, this one also was for them. But at this point, I was like a totally different photographer. Like my style started changing just slightly. Do you charge for destination weddings based on their currency or dollars? You know, I haven't done any wow. I haven't done any destination weddings just yet. I'm worried about dealing with like visas and all that kind of stuff. But I probably would just charge them for dollars. This wedding was so cool. It like snowed. It was like the first snow of the year. And the couple was so hype about it. They were like, yeah, let's get out here and get in the snow. They were like totally about it. And it was cool too because their wedding, it was kind of like Christmas-ish themed. So the snow just like kind of set the mood even more. They got out there and was throwing snowballs at each other. Fun times. Fun times. All right, y'all. It's about that time. Nice little 2-hour stream. But I gotta sign off and do some other work. Got some clients I need to reply to. And I got some videos I need to make. At some point, I'm gonna start talking about how to make YouTube videos as well. Just kind of my experience of making YouTube videos and growing on YouTube. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to check that out. Also, don't forget about the Patreon page where I recently just posted the video, a whole walkthrough of doing family photos. So definitely check that out as well. And yeah, thank you all for joining again. Thank you for the 30K subs. Thank you for all the support. And keep an eye out for more videos, more presets, hopefully that Capture One preset coming in. And just thank you overall for everything. It's been really fun. It's been fun to see everyone so receptive to just like me sharing information about stuff, because I'm a huge fan of it. So thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of the channel, supporting the channel. And if y'all know anyone who's starting photography or interested in photography or Fujifilm photographers, send them over my way. And don't forget the tweet at Fuji. You'd be like, make this guy a Fuji X photographer. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.